I got a little teary-eyed there in the last video. Like, oh my God, just thinking about these things. I don't allow myself to cry enough. And this was a big thing while I was going through what I was going through. You know, when my mom was in the hospital that last month, I had this motto. It was like, you know, just be there and cry later. Go home and fall the fuck apart. But while I was there, I'd be strong. It was hard, but I have the ability to kind of separate my emotions. And just like when I'm in the moment and I have to do things, I guess I compartmentalize my emotions. I don't know what you call it. Not that that's a good thing, but I'm able to kind of just do things without, you know, showing emotions. I have emotions, trust me. I have very sensitive emotions. So I had that nice last night. We did a little girly time with me and my mom. It was really nice, right? While this was all going on, like, I watched my dad die. My dad, luckily, I guess, you know, my dad was in the hospital right before he passed away too. We got him home. We got him on oxygen, and my dad did hospice at home, and I felt like my mom deserved that same respect. I would have gave my, like, everything to just keep her here, you know? Anyway, my dad died at home. My dad was on hospice. I will never forget this. The hospice nurse handed me a book, and the book tells you, like, the stages of death, right? It happens in stages. And I kind of was seeing it in my mom, but I was like so confused, you know? And so when that guy said terminal to me, I knew what I was seeing at that point in time, and I knew where things were heading, whether it was going to be days or weeks or a month. I didn't know, but I knew it was coming, and I could kind of see that she was starting to like disconnect from the world, if that makes sense. She was like hallucinating, and it was over those weeks, you know? And I couldn't tell if it was the drugs or if it was her. Like, I was just so confused about what was going on. But after you watch somebody die once, you kind of know what it looks like. And I knew what I was seeing this whole time. So I was spending as much time as I could at the hospital. I knew at this point in time, I need to spend every second I have. I don't care. I lived at this hospital. I lost like 12 pounds while this all happened in 1 month because I was like not eating and taking care of myself. I was just so worried. I mean, I lived with constant worry. Sunday comes. My mom's iPad had broken, and my mom asked me if I could come and take it home and take a look at it, right? Sitting up at the hospital, it's all quiet. We had just had this wonderful night. We were bonding and having one-on-one time. It was really awesome, right? So my brother didn't come up to the hospital that whole weekend. The last time he was at the hospital was that Friday, so we could get the key to go to my mom's house. I'm sitting up at the hospital, right? All of a sudden I get a phone call from my husband. He's flipping the fuck out. Oh my God. What now? What now? He gets a text from my brother. He writes to my husband, for some reason, Liana decided to smash the camera before giving it back. I already talked to my mom about this. Since she doesn't work, are you going to give me money for a new one? He told my mom I destroyed the camera, that it was like unsellable. But then yet, why are you going back to the house to get the box? I don't understand. Makes no sense to me. My husband texts him back and he writes, she gets a weekly allowance. You can deal with her. I asked my brother the previous time, please don't text my husband and get him involved. You know what this piece of shit writes back to my husband? Fine, we will file a claim in small claims court. You will both be served shortly. What? Let me get this straight. You're gonna bring me to court over a camera that your wife supposedly won in a contest and didn't need and gave to somebody else. Tell my husband, I'm like, Chris, let him bring us to fucking court for his camera. Where's your receipt for how much it cost? Because you know what? If he pulls up a receipt for it, it's going to prove that they're fucking liars and that she didn't win it in no contest. And second of all, he gave it to my mom. I have a text message that he sent to me that said, gave. I gave it to mom. I said, let him bring me to small claims court over a fucking camera. Because this is important on a Sunday afternoon when your mom's in the hospital dying, right? This is what you should be worrying about. Don't come to the hospital. Don't come to visit her. Worry about this camera. This is what this asshole's worried about, okay? And now you're going to start threatening my husband and me with court over a fucking camera. I was flabbergasted. I really was. You're a little baby in the hospital whining to my mom, Liana broke my camera. Grow the fuck up, you little bitch. My husband writes back, he's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, why don't you try talking to your sister? You haven't tried once. And my brother responds with, she told me to never call her again. I told you to never call me or him again. I told you leave us both alone. And my husband just said something like, that sucks. I'm not getting involved. I think he called my mom that day too and was like, Leanna won't give me money for the camera. And that's when my mom was like, all right, I'll give it to you. This was it, man. And I was trying to avoid this so bad. I really was. I really, really was. I promise you guys. My husband tells him to deal with me. So then all of a sudden I get a text from him. And he writes, since you smashed the camera before giving it back, are you going to be giving me $200 for it out of your weekly allowance? And so I wrote back to him, didn't I tell you not to contact my husband anymore? This is bordering on harassment now. Get your fucking priorities in order already. I'm glad you have fucking time to sit around and worry about a fucking camera. Why don't you worry about your mother who's dying? If the camera is so worthless now and unsellable, why'd you need the box for it? You are full of fucking shit and I'm done. Don't contact my husband. You could bring me to small claims court. So he writes back out of that whole thing, right? He writes back, will do. And I'm telling you guys, I 1000% believe that Satan's coaching all of this. This is all hard. This is what's important right now, is to fight over a fucking camera while your mom's dying in the hospital, right? I was so angry, like so angry. I kept going. I said, man, Steven, you and your wife are the most vindictive people on the planet. Really, Steven? This is what's important to you right now? A fucking camera? Why is the camera there to begin with? So mommy could get a nice view down her hallway? You sneaky fucks are the ones who need cameras pointed on you. I said, and like a little pussy, you're up at the hospital bothering mommy about this fucking bullshit. Do you see what this is doing to her? I'll be sure to notify the social worker that you're adding non-necessary stress to her life right now and making her worse. Maybe you should spend your time with her instead of at the bar getting drunk like you're 21 years old. Really, man? Get your shit together. I said, the doctor said the word terminal to me. Do you need a fucking definition of what that means? She's fighting for her life, and you're bothering her with this trivial bullshit. This is probably what you wanted, you piece of shit. So then he starts calling me, and I'm like, I'm not answering it. I'm not getting in a fight. And to be honest with you guys, at this point in time, I was documenting everything. So I was like, if he calls me and I talk on the phone with him, I have no record of it, and he could twist my words. So I was like kind of forcing him to text with me. This way I had record of it, okay? I wrote, I'm up at the hospital. I'm not fucking talking to you. You wasted enough of my time. You guys ready for this? Dude, this is going to show who my brother is, okay? Okay, as I was editing this, I realized that I completely left out one of the texts that he sent me, and this one's a doozy. So he writes back to me and he's like, I understand the word terminal, and I spoke to the doctor today. He said she's on the upward trend, responding to treatment. I could assure you guys, no doctor told them that. So you're telling me that one doctor is telling me that she's dying and needs to go to hospice, and another doctor was telling you that she's on an upward trend. Bullshit. I was so fucking disgusted by that. I just wrote back to him, fuck off, just stop talking to me. And so this is the part that's going to show his true colors. He goes, regardless of her being terminal, doesn't mean I have to shut up and take your psychotic bullshit. That smashing the camera was completely unnecessary. Get a hold of your fucking feelings. Granted, he was right. I did the wrong thing. I'll own up to that. I was wrong. Get a hold of your fucking feelings, though. Get a hold of your wife. Get a hold of your balls back from your wife and tell her, hey, asshole, maybe a camera's not that important right now. And it wasn't smashed. The camera was fine. And again, I will remind you guys, if it wasn't fine, because I know they had to have tested it out, why would you go get the box for it? If it was of no value, you couldn't use it, and it was smashed, why would you go get the box for it? You're going to throw it out in the box? That doesn't even make sense. So I wrote back to him, take my psychotic bullshit, be a fucking man already. Grab your balls back from your wife and address me. Don't drag mommy into this. You just showed me how fucking heartless you are. Holy shit, you little baby, do not contact me anymore. And I wrote, this is all a result of your psychotic wife who has no fucking moral compass or boundaries. This is exactly what you and her wanted. You got it. What in the fucking fuck was she doing calling the hospital asking if mommy had a healthcare proxy? That's none of her business. Touching mommy's bills, her will, none of her business. Where were you guys when mommy was home and I was fucking doing everything? Oh, that's right, getting drunk. You tell me your wife has borderline personality disorder and I'm the one who needs to control emotions? Wow, man, talk about gaslighting. I'm emotional because my mother and best friend is losing her battle with cancer. She wouldn't even be here still if it wasn't for me. You should be on the ground kissing my feet. I sat in the ER with her 12 hours watching her scream in pain while you were at a fucking comedy show. Yeah, motherfucker, you're right. I'm emotional. Wake the fuck up already. And P.S. Your stupid fucking camera goes for $180 on Amazon. So make sure you tell the court that. Again, I lost my shit. You know what? Looking back, rightfully so. Rightfully so. Your mother is dying, dude. This is so unimportant right now. This could have waited, dude. This could have waited. A month, a couple of weeks, it could have waited. My brother never answered me back after that, and I just have to point this out. You know, I confronted him and asked him these questions several times. Like, where were you? How come you didn't help her? How come you weren't around? And he always avoided it. And you guys will see this as time goes on, that I asked him this a million times and he never had a friggin' answer for me, which goes to tell me that he knows he's wrong. You want money for something that you gave away. That was basically worthless to you. So worthless that you gave it away. Now you want money for it? So I'm going to give you guys an example of what a real man does. My husband does not listen to me because I told my husband, let him take me to small claims court because I'll beat his ass in small claims court. I have receipts. He doesn't. And if he has a receipt for the camera, then you lied and you didn't win it in no contest. You bought it with the intention of planting it in my mom's house. My husband, he doesn't listen to me because he's a real man. He's like, I'm going to buy a new camera. I don't need to waste a day in court and all this shit over a camera. So my husband tells me to come home. I was like, Mom, I'm going to go home and fix your iPad. I didn't even tell her. I bring her iPad home and goes to Lowe's and goes and gets a new camera. And he texted my brother and drove it over to their house, right? But he made my brother give us the smashed camera. And we got money back for it. Don't worry about that. So really, the camera didn't cost me anything. So I go on my mom's iPad that night. Something was wrong with it. My brother put that Nest app on it. My mom's iPad just completely stopped working. The Nest app was an app for the camera, right? So I go in there. I get it fixed somehow, right? I go in her iPad and I'm like, let me look around, make sure everything's there. So there's the Nest app. I go click into the Nest app. They didn't make a separate account for my mom for that camera that they gave to her. They put the camera as like an additional camera on their account. I have a Ring doorbell, right? So if I add a camera, I already pay for the service that records, the video. If I add another camera, it's like, I could have my doorbell and then I could get like another camera and another camera. You could add a bunch of cameras, right? So that's basically what they did. Even though the camera wasn't at their house, it was like added on as an additional camera for their house. It was named Mom's Living Room. And I'm like, wow. And you guys think of how fucked up this is, right? They had never really ever had any intentions of giving my mom the camera because they knew she was gonna die. So in their heads, basically just lending her this camera until she died. That's the reality. But they lied to her and tricked her and completely sold it to her as, hey, we're going to give you this thermostat and the camera's like a little side gift, It's not what it was at all. I was so done with these assholes at this point in time. So while I had her iPad, my nosy ass decided to go look at her text messages. Because I'm like, what are these assholes up to? Like, really, I want to know what's going on. Are they manipulating her? What are they saying to my mom? I had to know. And I'm going back and I see that most of them were just like pictures of his daughter. I don't think he was that stupid. They manipulated her in person. I don't think they wanted any record of their manipulation because there was none in text, right? But I did see one text that I was like, the day that the lawyer came up to the hospital, and my mom had accidentally texted my brother and asked what time the lawyer was coming up. My mom never told me this, but my brother answered back and was like, which lawyer? The one Janet suggested? And I'm like, Janet? The accountant? The one that Satan uses? My mom happens to use? Like, why is this accountant suggesting lawyers to my mom? When the fuck did my mom even talk to this lady? And why is she talking to her? Or did Satan talk to her and, Satan told her that you were looking for a lawyer? I really started to feel like there was some type of conspiracy against me at this point. My mom could not answer why cameras were being planted in the house, why my brother was being sneaky. And at the same time, I didn't want to ask her because, I didn't want to upset her and harass her about this shit. I just had to kind of suck it up and just go on. What am I going to do? So my husband brought my fucking asshole brother the camera that night. And that was that. The camera thing was taken care of. I was just so pissed off. It was my brother was he's such an asshole. He really is. Anyway, I'm going to end this one and come back in the next one.